Hi, I'm Mark McPherson. Welcome to one of my videos in my series of videos where we take a look at what I call the 11 essential, fundamental, core non-verbal communication skills. In this video, we're taking a look at skill number 11. That's right, it's the last skill, and it's the skill of eye contact. It's the skill of making the best use of eye contact, the skill of using eye contact when it's appropriate to do so. There's no doubt about it. Eye contact is incredibly important. When you speak to somebody, you look at them. If someone is speaking to you, you look at them. And it would look pretty odd, wouldn't it, if instead of me looking down the lens of this camera where you are, if I was talking over there, looking in that direction while I was speaking about whatever I happen to be speaking about, looking over there, looking up, or looking down at the ground, it'd look a bit odd. It'd be a bit disconcerting for you, perhaps even annoying. So it's pretty basic stuff. And I remember when I was very young, my parents taught me about how important eye contact was. For example, if someone said hello to you, you looked at them and said hello back. If someone gave you a present, you didn't just grab the present and run off. You actually looked at them in the face, shook their hand, gave them a kiss, whatever it happens to be, but you engaged with them. You acknowledged them. You looked at them and said thank you. Pretty basic manners. But eye contact is not always the best option. It's not always necessary. For example, in one of the skills I talk about, the skill of holding, of directing someone's attention and holding it, instead of looking at people, you look at whatever you're talking about. It can be a little bit of a problem if you're talking about a graph or an image and you look back at the people you're talking to because they're not sure then whether they should be looking at the graph or looking at you, and their eyes tend to go like this a little bit. So it's not always necessary to be looking at the people you're talking to if you're talking about something else. Another example is when you're, well, as you know, I work in the area of helping people master tough conversations, put an end to bad behavior and deal with difficult people. And one of the techniques that I give people is that when they say to me, oh, I have to deal with this person, they're staring at me, they look like they're going to explode any minute, I find it difficult to look at them. Well, a few tricks here. Number one is you don't have to look right into their eyes. You can actually look at the bridge of their nose if that helps. They're still thinking that you're looking at them, but you're not distracted by their face or their angry eyes or whatever it happens to be. It's just a little trick. If you're further than about 40 centimetres away, people really aren't too aware of that. For example, right now I'm not looking at the lens. I'm actually looking at about 10 centimetres away from the lens, but you probably don't notice any change. So we can get away with not always looking directly at people. And it's the same as if you're speaking on a stage. You can actually look around at people. It's important to engage everyone, but you don't always have to be looking at their eyes if you find that a bit nerve-wracking. A few other examples. Sometimes it's not always important to look at people, and I give this example. Many years ago when I was dealing with someone who had made some mistakes, and I don't think they were accidental, but that's another issue, made some mistakes on their timesheet. And rather than look at them straight in the face all the time while I was talking about the timesheet, it was important that we look at this for a number of reasons. One is, it was a bit disconcerting looking at them straight in the face. I also saw them getting a bit embarrassed, so it saves a little bit of that. And after all, this is the problem, the timesheet. So we could talk about this. And it's also the same trick that I tell people that when they're talking to their teenager about their school report or whatever, one of the tricks is to make it easier on both of you is to actually, rather than look at them in the face and talk about their bad report, is to look at this and say, this is the problem. I'm not happy with that result. That's a good one, but this is really, really a big problem. So it's not always necessary to look at people straight in the face all the time. However, regarding this timesheet one, I did at one stage, and I'm happy to go through this whole technique with you sometime. I did actually have to put it down and look at them in the face and say, this is what I want from you from now on. And then that was a time to engage them in the eye contact. It really didn't matter beforehand. When I was dealing with my mother, who had to go into a nursing home, my mother's now passed away, but when she was going to a nursing home, looking at her straight in the face, talking about the various options she had, was very upsetting for both of us. It was easier for her and for me to avoid eye contact for most of this and talk about the various options that she had available to her. In fact, I actually walked it out on the floor in front of her and talked about the various options. However, it was then time to look at my mother, engage her with eye contact to talk about which of these options was then she willing to seriously look at. Anyway, there's just a few examples for you. Eye contact, incredibly important. It would look odd if I was looking over there. It's a basic part of manners to look at someone and say, "Hi, how are you? Thank you very much. Welcome." But it's not always necessary, and some people, I think, overdo it in terms of saying you should always look at people in the face. It's not always the best option, but you need to know when to look at people in the face. It's no good if I was looking at this timesheet all the time. It'd be no good looking over here all the time and trying to engage them about what behaviour I want from them in the future. There was a time to put that away and then be more assertive. Why don't I leave it there? Eye contact is important. If you'd like to know more about the various techniques about eye contact and indeed all the other 10 skills we've talked about, please get in contact with me. It's really easy. Go to the contact page of my website, for example, and there's plenty of ways of getting in contact with me there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please look after yourselves, look after your friends and family, and I do hope to speak to you soon. All the very best.